So the first roofing company I worked with did not have a PA on site. And it got very frustrating for me because when I would see a very dirtbag roof and it gets the denial, there was nowhere to turn.
And then they're like, oh, well, you're a PA, you're not worth the shit. You didn't get us any money. It's like, well, if you would have given me this thing from the beginning, I could have created this incredible claim. Yep. This incredible story too, because I call it a story sometimes, where you got little Miss Johnson, old lady, 80 years old, and I put all this in my letter. She can't walk in the house. She can't do this. She's suffering from this damage up here. There's probably mold growing, and what are you going to do? And she needs to get paid, and then boom, you get paid.
When I became a PA and I saw that, oh, they also forgot these other 23 items, I'm like, oh my goodness, I was getting ripped off as a roofer.
We've got people in the courses that, man, they could write an Xactimate estimate like you wouldn't believe. But they've got angry clients. They can't figure out the insurance adjusters. They can't get what they want on claims. And it's just funny how you mentioned those soft skills. It just made me think about that, how important that is.
We can make sure that you, like, if you have some water come into the wood floor, but you also had a potted plant near there, if you don't move that plant, they're going to attribute that water damage to you overwatering that plant.
Right.
You got to move that thing. Get that in the kitchen. I have to move it, but and it's just because I've learned now, because in the past as a roofer, I'd be, oh, come on in, adjuster, here we go, and they'll see, nah, deny. Oh, dang. Why? That tree. I mean, she ain't watered it. It's a dead tree.
Yeah, that's another thing that drives me crazy is I get a lot of clients say, hey, which insurance should I get? And they send me whatever it is that their agent sends them.
Yeah.
The agents now, sometimes they don't even send a deck page.
Oh, wow.
They'll send you like 4 options that all it says is the insurance company name, the policy limit, the deductible, and how much the premium is.
Yep.
No exclusions, no endorsements, no nothing.
We carry a high number of claims just because our team is 200 deep, and so.
What's up, advocates? And welcome back to another episode of the Claims Game Podcast. My name is Vince Perry. I'm your host, licensed and certified public adjuster in the states of Florida, Texas, California, and North Carolina. Remember that you could follow us on social media. You could follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And make sure you visit commercialclaimsadvocate.com for all of the information for all of our meetups, like the one we're going to have in Tampa. We're also going to have one in Miami, and all of our courses as well as consulting. So let's get right into it. Claims Game Podcast today is with my good friend Ebahi. Ebahi is just an amazing individual. She actually was the one who sparked me into starting this whole social media thing. She was the first adjuster that I found on YouTube with an actual successful following and some really good videos. Ebahi is a licensed and certified independent adjuster and public adjuster in the state of Georgia. So make sure she knows her stuff. She works for Metro Public Adjustment. Metro Public Adjustment is actually a really cool idea. It's a public adjusting firm, and they're located throughout the country. And they actually give leads, and it seems like a really good corporation-style public adjusting firm that she's working for. She really enjoys it. She could even have public adjusters under her. Very, very cool idea, very cool concept. Make sure that you visit Metro Public Adjustment on their website. But more importantly, Ebahi, like I said, very, very smart individual. She knows her stuff about public adjusting, and frankly, she's really focused on the consumer. She's really focused on the people, and you're going to see that in this interview, where her number one priority always has been the customer, the person, and the individual who has just suffered the loss. It's not about the money. So really, really great conversation. I think you're going to like it. Make sure that you follow Ebahi. She's got her own YouTube channel. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook, and she's on LinkedIn as well. So make sure you go follow her and follow her now. She's got really good content, and good content not just for public adjusters, but for independent adjusters. She's got her own course as well, and it focuses on making sure that you pass the exam. I get questions all of the time about the exam and how to pass it and what to do. She actually has a course that she has built just to help you pass that exam. So make sure you reach out to her and go check her out. You're going to really enjoy it, just like I think you're going to enjoy this podcast. So are you ready? Go ahead. Let's check it out right now.
Welcome to the Claims Game Podcast with Vince Perry. Get all the tips you need from insurance claim advocates and professionals and grow your public adjusting career to the next level. And now the commercial claims advocate, Vince Perry.
We're vibing. All right.
I didn't know you were a DJ.
You like that? You see that?
I didn't know you were a DJ, man.
When I
smooth vibes.
When I went on Fiverr to find somebody, and I found somebody, and the first question they asked, "What kind of music do you like?" And I said, "Hip hop. That is my favorite kind of music." So he's like, "Okay, got you." And then he came up with that, and I was just like, "We're good."
Really? What? In one try?
In one try, I liked it. Yeah.
Your Fiverr operates different than my Fiverr.
I take a lot of time, though, in actually trying to find the right person. I don't know about you. I go like 5 stars and up or level 3 and up or whatever. Okay. And I'm willing to also, I'm not afraid to spend the extra money and do that like the level, like, you know how they always have like 3 different price options?
Yep.
I'm not afraid to go to the second or third price option for something because I feel like I get a little bit better. Response.
Okay. I'm like 1 to 2, only because I guess I have a soft spot for people getting started. And of course, I do think maybe I could get a deal. I have a lot that I do. So trying to, so I know that like if I do price per piece, let's say thumbnails for YouTube videos, $5 a piece for some people, but if I can get them all bulk, then maybe I could get a discount. However, it never turns out right. So I'm trying to, actually learn my lesson from that and try to not do it on my own, which I think women may not be as good as men are. I think men are really good about, hey, let me grab a partner, let me grab a buddy, a friend, let me get an assistant. Like Ray Kroc, he had an assistant like from very early on, but of course in that time they had to have a phone, somebody answer the phones while they were on the road. But I think if a female did it, she would maybe just do an answering service. Let me speak for me, not all females. Sorry about that. I just want to speak for me. I would probably just do the calls when I got to a place and do an answering service or such like that, because I try to do too much on my own.
Well, this is why I wanted to have you on, Ebahi. Why I'm really excited is that you were one of my influencing influencers when I first started all this.
What? Really?
You've been doing it for longer than I have.
I have been doing it since 2018, and I started because I failed. And that's one thing all people always are nervous about is failing. Some in Facebook groups, I commend them because they failed more than twice and they still keep trying. And you should. My mom failed her nursing test she took it 5 times. She passed on the 5th time. And I think it's not really the failing because like Edison will say, I don't fail. I just found ways that things didn't work. Well, when I failed my property and casualty test the first time, I was very confused because I'm an AB student. And so me not passing the test just is like oil and water. It just didn't mix. So of course, when you hit this kind of wall, everything else stops and you tune in and you focus in. And that may be a few people's issue when it does come to studying, blocking out the world. When you're studying for a property and casualty or any license, you have to forget about what sports are going on. Got to forget about the pools. We were talking about the weather earlier. You have to forget about the social part and focus in. So I did that for 2 weeks and I turned to YouTube University, which is of course the 2nd largest search engine. And I realized there's a lot of information actually already out there on explaining concepts and topics on the test. However, searching for it is really hard because those who post the videos aren't using the correct tags, aren't using the correct descriptions. And that's where I found the gap, essentially. As somebody who, as a kid, I used to collect the AOL CDs. Do you remember those when they used to be like 60 free hours?
You're showing your age, Ebahi.
When I just said 60 free hours, people are going to be like, what in the world? Yes, you had to pay per hour. It was like they were whores back then.
Yeah.
And I used to collect those because I liked how you get 60 seconds for somebody to say yay or nay. And I also like that about magazines. That's my favorite place to go to see like ads and marketing. So I've always enjoyed marketing. And when I used to work with Google Maps, and so I used to also study marketing during that time. And with the boom of e-commerce, the boom of online courses happened, I'm like, wow, people do want to pass this exam, but if they went and searched for it, it would look like information wasn't there on the web. There's a few people actually out there who I still refer people to, but unless you know his name or her name, you're just not going to find them. So that's where I started 3 years ago, just helping people pass, and I've really just been cataloging my journey since then.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people get discouraged. Like, for instance, I failed my Florida test the first time I took it. I failed the California test the first time I took it. I was lucky enough to pass the Texas test the first time I took it. And I do get, and I'm sure you do as well, I get a lot of people messaging me all the time, like, what do I do to study for this test? What can I do to pass this test? I can't pass it. But I think it's good to know that even someone like yourself, who was always very good at school, probably even very good at test taking, it's not an easy test, and it takes a lot of preparation. And I think what you're doing online and helping adjusters do that is phenomenal.
Thanks. Yeah, that preparation is true, tried and true, because you do want to be prepared. And the worst part about it is you want to, for people who are listening and they haven't taken the test, or maybe they're looking back at taking it, focusing in for 2 weeks out of your life can really lead to a big difference, because we got, I guess, Fred is coming around. If you aren't licensed today, trying to pass the exam tomorrow is not going to allow you to work Fred.
Right.
You have to be prepared. And I think the sense of urgency may be missing a little bit from some characters. But for those who are studying, my biggest advice is really just focus in. You delete the apps, the Tinders, the Instagrams, the Reddits, delete those, and just have property and casualty flashcards, have course books, those types of things and you can build them yourself too. Different apps, you can put in your own questions and you can make your own flashcards. And by doing that, you get to read the material. Those types of things really help. But the course I use, I just needed some additional feedback. I'm an audio visual learner, so I have to see and hear it. And when you're just looking at a book or you're just looking at a screen and there's talking in the background, you're snoozing off. 20 minutes goes by and you're like, oh shoot, now I got to get to work. Forget this, and you don't come back to it. So I just encourage everybody. Oops, hold on, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know what happened. I touched my keyboard and something happened. Sorry about that.
No, but like you were saying, I mean, I think it's very important to zero in, to focus in. One of the tips that I like to give to people is practice questions. It's something I actually learned from my wife. My wife is probably one of the smartest people I know. And when it comes to taking tests, I mean, she could literally like not even know about the subject, have a little bit of preparation, and she passes it, and I hate her for it. But one thing that she actually told me that has found that helped me a lot with the Texas exam, which I was able to pass on the first try, was instead of focusing so much on actually learning the material, or shall we say memorizing the material, to really actually focus on taking the practice exam, taking the practice questions. Spend the bulk of your time just answering more and more questions, because I know like on some of the different places that you can get practice exams, they give you like 100 practice exams that you can take. And what I did for Texas was I had it on my phone. I was able to log in on my phone, and I'd be in bed at night, and I'd say, okay, I'm just going to knock out 20 questions right now. And no matter how you would do your best. And then every day, my goal was, depending on how far away it was, let's say if I was a month away from the exam, I'd be like, okay, 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes on practice exams, 15 minutes on the material. And then as I got closer, it was an hour a day, 30 and 30. But I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they focus the bulk of their time of trying to learn and memorize, and then they forget about the practice questions, because I think that just getting better at answering the questions is another little skill that you have to learn in itself besides actually knowing the information. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. My mom was the same way for her nursing. She's the one that told me to take practice questions. I have a project management degree. Well, I guess it's a certification. I actually do have a master's in it too, but the certification test, my mom said, take practice questions. And what you find yourself doing, you start with the 15, 30 minutes. It's almost like working out. You get the mind like, okay, at first 15 minutes seems like 3 days. But then you get to an hour where you're just like, shoot, I'm not, nothing's else doing. The food's cooking. I'm home alone. Just keep going. And then the weekend before, you might spend that whole Saturday or that whole Sunday, just 5-6 hours studying or taking practice questions, which I recommend with you. I tell people 200 to 300 practice questions a day, 4 to 5 days leading up to the exam. Take a test, just take it. Your body gets used to sitting down for an hour and a half, 2 hours, which in 15 minutes, when I go take the test at the testing center, in 15 minutes, I'm like, I need a bathroom break. Like I'm already fidgeting. It's almost kind of like, it's like warm-ups. Like, hold on. Okay, I warmed up. I need to go sit down on the bench for a second, stretch, get some water, and then I can go back in. Cause I've taken the Georgia exam initially twice, then I took the New York exam, and then I took the Georgia exam again to do my PA license. So I've done 4 of them. Just sounds like you've done 4. So by the time I did that 4th one, I think I was done in about 50 minutes. I also had a flight to catch that day, so that probably put a little bit of gusto in my test taking. And one last piece of advice I'll give people too is that when you take the exam, once you select an answer, do not change that answer unless you know it's wrong. Go with your gut feeling and just call it a day. Changing answers is where people also second guess themselves, and usually people are right the first time.
Oh my goodness. I changed so many answers in my Texas exam. And thank God it worked out okay. If I probably wouldn't have changed it, I don't even know if I would have passed it. I did good though. I can't believe I did so good. But yeah, I went back and I changed a lot of them. And as I was changing them, I'm just like, this is not good. If I'm changing all these answers, it's not going to go well. And thankfully, they gave you the results right there. And it's like an 80. I got like an 84, 86 or something that. Which
Nice.
Is like,
they don't give us
like,
our score once you pass. How did you do? How did you do your apprenticeship? I'm always like, did you have to do one in Florida?
So actually, it's been that long. I was the first year of apprentices. Before it sucked because I'm like, man, all I had to do was pass an exam, but I had to do the apprenticeship. And now it's 6 months. Back then it was a year. Yeah, I did the apprenticeship for 1 year, and then I took the exam, and then I was officially licensed.
Oh, I see. See, that's that sense of urgency again, right? If we get it done as soon as possible, we don't have to worry about the other changes that come up. How do you recommend people doing it now? I have a ton of people in Florida who are like eager, ready to go. They just don't know what to do. How are you recommending it now for people?
I'm not crazy about the law of about an apprentice not being able to sign a claim. It puts a burden on the licensed adjuster, for several reasons. I mean, for one, the idea of an apprentice, the idea of it, I understand and I like it. It's, hey, get your feet wet, learn how to do this, learn how to figure it out, and you'll be a better adjuster. The problem is that as an apprentice, you're very restricted as to really what you can do. If you can't sign your own claims, what's the point of going out there and networking?
I see.
What's the point of going out there and getting those leads and going to these houses when you have to drag someone else with you to actually sign the claim?
Sure. And
then you could have the adjuster, which is probably not legal or unethical, give you a contract that's signed. But even if they did that, which I'm not sure if it's even allowed, even if they did that, then what would happen is now you've got an adjuster who's licensed. What I was saying, if I remember correctly, is about the apprentices is that, so we'll cut it if we have to, but whatever you were saying was probably really good. It sucks because it really is, it's restricted on the apprentice who could go out and get leads and go sign claims, because 2 things happen when they go to a house. Let's say they either have to drag the licensed adjuster with them, or if they do the unethical thing and get a contract that's already signed, but that's now going to hurt the licensed adjuster who's on it, who's going to be looked at as to, what's going on with this claim. Is it a good claim? And so on and so forth. And I think it just confuses things. It's hard for an apprentice to find an apprenticeship because a lot of firms don't want them.
I see. I could, just based on what you said, I was actually about to ask you, like, doesn't that slow down the adjuster? And then also, like, does the apprentice pay for the, being able to do the apprenticeship since they're kind of slowing them down?
No, they actually get a percentage, a small one.
Oh, okay.
But we usually pay them a percentage because, I mean,
they're working.
They're working, but yeah, I think it's stupid. I think they should be allowed to sign their own claims.
Gotcha. And you can only be a apprentice, like the adjuster can only have one apprentice.
Per adjuster, one apprentice, up to 4, I think, within a firm, but that would have to be 4 licensed adjusters with 4 apprentices.
I see. And it's a 6-month requirement. That is a big ask for the public adjuster to be able to train them because of the time commitment, which is the only thing that we really can't duplicate. I mean, we can, but you yourself, you can only be in one place at one time. So do you work with apprentices, or do you? No,
we've got one now who's under me, and we've got another one who's coming on that I actually just interviewed today, who's going to be going on under somebody else.
Okay.
If I see the talent, if the talent is there, I mean, you and I know, I'm sure we could agree that it takes a special someone to do what we do,
Right.
We're special. I don't know if I mean that in a good way or in a bad way, but you have to have, you've got to have a personality, you've got to have the drive, you've got to have the personality, the drive. It's a lot of sales. Maybe a little bit of construction background would be beneficial too. Like it's hard to find a good person, and what ends up happening a lot of the times is they just can't hack it, or they just go on to something else.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's it's a bit of a numbers game, because we also try to train public adjusters. We help them with financing the whole process, because in Georgia, you do have to take a 40-hour course. I don't think any other state really requires a pre-licensing course, but that's money out the person's pocket. And while we are probably one of the easiest of entry positions versus like real estate, where you need the 6-week class and a bunch of tests and law degrees and medical licenses, I think it's a small investment for somebody to be able to say, okay, here's a couple of $100 here, let me start this process of becoming a adjuster. And I think the tough part is that the money takes time to come in. And I'm hoping that people will be able to really equate us in the same conversation when they speak about a general practitioner, or when they speak about maybe a non-personal injury lawyer, because those guys make the millions, the personal injury. But just like a lawyer that you need for your business, or a lawyer that I need for my own business, the salary rates are almost the same. But it's just no college needed for our position. And one of the passions that I have is to be able to have this industry introduced as a trade, like plumbing or electricians, or what was the other, real estate agents, and helping people understand, if you go out and do either of those, the process is the same. You have to make yourself known, marketing, networking, and then you plant those seeds, and then the crop will start to grow, and you harvest that crop. And so the planting, the parable of the sower of the seeds makes me, just is always what I think about. Like, it does take a little time, but for those who wait on it, it's really good.
I always talk about planting seeds. It's so important, especially in the beginning of the career. I'm always saying you just got to plant the seeds, meet as many. I compare networking almost to like door knocking, where people who go door knocking, the more doors that they hit, the better chance. It's networking is the same way. You don't know who you're going to connect with. You don't know how that conversation is going to go, but the more people that you meet, you may not get that direct referral, but you may get it a month from now or 3 months or years from now. You never know who that person is going to introduce you to. I think it's networking to me is the number one way to really establish yourself and plant those seeds and grow your business, you know?
Absolutely. So seeing that you're 7 months into your own firm, have you found any networks to adjust large commercial claims, 5 million, 10 million?
No. I mean, it's tough here in Florida because in Georgia, you guys have a lot of hailstorms. And in New York, you've got a lot of hailstorms.
Okay.
Here, hail is kind of few and far between. It's really just windstorms. So it's not so often that you get a really heavy windstorm. I'd say you probably get less than 3 or 4 a year. You get just like a nasty windstorm. And I'm talking anything from, 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts to 60 to 70 or 80 mile per hour gusts. But again, it's kind of few and far between. It doesn't happen much. The idea here is you just want to network with the associations. You want to network with the property managers. You want to network with those commercial building construction people, and just see if you could just, again, plant seeds, build relationships with them, just in case that big one does hit, whether it be a tropical storm, a hurricane, or just a really tough or nasty storm. That's really the only time that's going to really pay dividends. But I mean, as you know, on social media, there's a lot of adjusters out there with just some large losses, man.
Yeah.
Like big time losses. But it's tough. It's like anything else. You gotta network and meet the right people.
Yeah. There are some claim consultants out there too who seem to gather some large losses, and they seem to be operating in a very maybe gray-ish area, because some of them aren't licensed for anything. But they've made a great headway to be able to network with the right people to put them in those places. So I'm looking for those good opportunities, which makes this career not boring and not have a dead end, because you can always have a new, let's see, industry to attack. For example, like one of the first ones I went after is roofers. I think when we first talked, you also said networking with roofers, but now you're talking too about the HOAs, the property managers, the electricians. So each month you have a new target to actually go after, and you can actually just probably pick 12 a year, because you'll never loop through every electrician.
Right.
And you don't have to just do Florida, since we're also licensed in several other states, and Florida's a long state,
It's
so
long.
it's
long
very
and technically wide too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like 4 or 5 hours to get from one coast to the other, I think.
Oh, it's way more than that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
it's a good 9 hours at least.
Well, from east to west?
If you go, coast to coast. So east to west, it'll take you, I mean, from here to Orlando, it's about an hour and a half. So it's not that bad. Figure 2 hours to get coast to coast. But from Miami, say, to
Jacksonville
to Jacksonville is probably going to be about 6.5, 7 hours.
Okay.
But if you go up if you turn that left and you go down the Panhandle, it's going to probably take you about 10 hours to get to Pensacola from Miami.
I gotcha.
It's
I've driven down to Pensacola from Georgia. It's nothing but back roads, and a lot of that is in Alabama. So driving through, you're just like zoom, like just trying to get through as fast as possible, because you really don't want to get stuck. Your GPS is off, malfunctioning.
Right.
So it's just it's a very country drive getting to Pensacola and Destin, Florida. So I'm very excited for the career, because you can continue to learn. As you mentioned, some construction background is good. I started with none. Now I know about Megger tests. Now I know about insulation and just a wax ring. What the heck is a wax ring? How is that the plumbing? They hit you with stuff.
I joke with people that when I first started, I didn't know the difference between a tile-based board and a wood-based board. It's a joke, but yeah, I didn't know much about construction either.
Right.
Ebahi, tell me another really interesting thing I find about you and about just the state of Georgia. You started off as an independent adjuster, right?
That's correct. I saw my friend. So my story is that I I was working with Google Maps. I was not driving the little car, but I was driving cars around to get from location to location to test out the GPS. At a time before we started this project, when you would pull up McDonald's, you might be 100 yards off. You may be maybe even half a mile down the road. Like, where is this thing? It says I'm here. So we went around making those corrections. And my friend, when that project was ending, because you get 2 years at Google, like unless you're a white badge and then you're permanent. But when you're red badge, you get up to a 2-year project, which they put that in there because Microsoft was using 1099 contractors for like decades and not ever making them employees, so they didn't have the benefits. Well, at the end of our project, I think a big hurricane, maybe Harvey or such, may have hit. And a colleague of mine knew someone who was working at State Farm. So she went over there. She took along like 3 or 4 of our employees, not me though. And I was like, just wondering what they were doing. So she told me, I had no idea what it was. But then about 2 months later, she shows me a check. I was out of work because the project had ended. So I'm like, all right, let me see what this is about. I mean, I hate insurance. Got to pay for it. There's this deductible you have to pay, co-pay you have to pay. What am I paying insurance for? Didn't understand
But
it.
it's necessary. It's always there. Insurance is always there. That's why it's best to work in insurance, because it's never going to go away.
I know. I was just thinking about that, I think yesterday or the day before, because even if like all jobs stopped, you still have to pay your mortgage, and your mortgage company wants you to have insurance. So it's one of those bills that's just not going to go away for people. And so when she was working, that's when I started studying, and I went down the IA path. But the first thing that was a blockade for me was when I went to go apply for certain positions was you needed to have experience, and I didn't have experience. So I started searching how to get that. That's how I ended up with the roofing company, but it was door-to-door sales. Okay, so I kind of was getting my toes wet from that, and I was just still trying to pursue the IA. So I went through the pilots, the Renfros, all of the big major firms, tried to attend all the trainings that I could, and when I would go, one thing or another would happen. Maybe they would release you early. Maybe there wasn't really a deployment really available. They were just having a set of extra 30 people just in case they need to send people out. There were other certifications that you need, so then you had to go take the test for those and pass those, but I didn't pass, and then I had to wait on the next one. So all of those things kept happening, and I'm investing a lot of money. I'm investing in getting the other North Carolina license, which then I bought the wrong licenses because PNC is different from the adjuster license. So I mean, I was very dedicated to moving, and I'm living at home at the time. My mom is like, I mean, all this money, like, you go get a real job, I'm like, no, this is going to work. It's insurance, it's guaranteed. But then eventually I did get a good opportunity to work a deployment out in New York, and it was nice, just being able to do the job and seeing what it was about. However, when you look at the time that you were working, the 7 to 7, 7 to 7, so 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Little demanding. I'm living in New York. If I hadn't been staying with my sister, it wouldn't have been very profitable. But she wasn't charging me rent, so I was able to stay out there. And then after 6 weeks, it's like, okay, well, we're done. That's it. You can go home. And I just recall learning about public adjusters along my IA track. And while I was working the IA side, I was like, man, I can't wait to get back to maybe try this PA thing. I wanted to get back to try the PA thing. And one of the reasons why I started with Metro at the time was because they were the only ones that said, we'll train you. So I was like, oh yeah, maybe, I'll train. Hell, they'll train. Yep, I'll join. Tell me what you need me to do. Oh, you want me to bring people so we can review their policies? No problem. It's no other cost involved. Really with that. So that's when I just wanted to get back to the PA side. I just felt like I'll be able to work from home. I'll be able to help more people because I saw how people were getting underpaid when I was a State Farm adjuster. I'm like, but the baseboards have to come out in order to get the to make sure everything gets dry, you know, like it, or the quarter round has to come out because the baseboard is damaged, and they're like, no, you know, just pay for the baseboard, don't pay for the R&R, and things you put in there you get in trouble for, they smack your hand. And you're like, geez, that's a lot of boss. And I've never been really a good like employee. I don't think I've ever been a good employee. So that's what making and becoming a PA was really great, because I'm my own boss. But I have a back office that supports me, and I was never really business savvy. So it's great to be able to have their support.
What would you say you learned your time? I know I believe in Georgia, you could have both, right? You could have the IA
Correct.
and the
Correct.
PA. But when you were an IA full time working on the insurance side, what would you say? What was the one thing that stands out that you really learned from your experience there?
I think the sense of urgency was one of the biggest learning adaptations that I had to make. As I mentioned, I'm not the best employee, so I think, being honest, I was kind of lazy at times. And I think there's also certain people who come into positions and you find ways to get other people to do the work. And with the sense of urgency, if I had files or pictures, I'll just, you know, not upload them right away to the file. I would say, okay, I'll wait till I get home. But then by the time you get home, by the time you eat, you're sleepy. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it on my office day. And so that's just the no. You have certain time commitments that you have to be able to fulfill so that they don't look at you in the negative light. But yeah, I would say that would be the biggest area where I say, listen, you gotta get moving and grooving. So if I was to go back and change anything, it would be to just be on point with, okay, I know this is here, and have a process, which someone tried to show me, but with so many things that you have to do, write your notes, you got to click here, click that, add this extra little update. And it's like 10 steps just, you know, for extra, just before you can close the file, and seeing how efficiently you can work those steps. And that can help you be a faster adjuster. And then that 12 hours doesn't feel like 12 hours anymore, because you're getting everything done at a quicker pace.
Do you feel like from your years or from your time as an IA, do you feel like you have any kind of advantage or an edge now
Only in
world?
talking to my customers, I'll tell them, hey, I used to work for State Farm. I know they're not going to pay for these things. And also working as a roofer is a big help too, because when I was a roofer, you see 7 to 15 line items and 15 on if there's interior added. But you see the amounts, you're good, 10,000, 7,000, 6, you think, calculate your commission, and you take the check from the homeowner and you give it to your boss, they do the work, you're good to go. When I became a PA and I saw that, oh, they also forgot these other 23 items, I'm like, oh my goodness, I was getting ripped off as a roofer. And so being a roofer really helped me be able to care more about the homeowner. I have a love-hate relationship, and more love with contractors than I do hate. The only part of the contractors that I wish they would improve on is providing not just estimates to their customer, but a lot of contractors say that we don't provide estimates because we don't want the insured to make money off the claim. And it's kind of a misconception, because the law actually states that they're not allowed to have betterments or improvements, and all roofers always provide them the 3 architectural shingle, you know, even if they had the 3 tab, they would say, oh, we can get you the nice 3D shingles. That's the betterment. That's the illegal part. But okay, fine, you're going to take a discount or such like that. That's fine. But it doesn't say that a homeowner can't have something left over after the contractor is done with their work. The law doesn't, and the policy doesn't state that. So if they could just clarify that for homeowners, I love them 100%. But it's just that little thorn in my side with contractors. But you know, I work with contractors all the time. I refer them, you know, business, of course, and they refer me business. So of course I love them, but there is a little bit of a misconception when it does come to what the homeowners receive.
Right. You train a lot of public adjusters. And you train a lot of independent adjusters on your YouTube channel and with your course and all that stuff, which, by the way, Ebahi has an amazing course that she provides. What would you say would be good for somebody who wants to get into public adjusting to have some kind of experience before actually going in and before obviously taking one of our courses?
Yeah.
Would it be like a construction experience? Would be working on the other side as an IA or a company adjuster? Would it be sales background? What do you think would be best for somebody to have already some experience before actually diving into being a public adjuster?
That's boy, it's one of those, it's almost like, when people are kids and you go out to the lake and the uncle or the granddad throws like the 2-year-old into the water and hope they learn how to swim. It's kind of like that. You kind of gotta, I like for people not to narrow their focus when they're becoming an adjuster. So some people will say, oh, I want to do auto, or I want to just do catastrophes, or I want to do staff. Don't limit yourself. Keep a very wide open door. Keep a door very wide open for yourself. And then in the meantime, while you're working on that, what I'm looking for is somebody with good customer service skills because of the relations that they have to build up. I've helped a lady who worked at Waffle House her entire career get a position on a deployment with EA Renfro. And because she dealt with customers, in my opinion, when I was talking to her and I was vamping her resume, I'm like, listen, you have enough experience where it's needed. They'll teach you everything else. There's certain things that you can't teach. And one of them would be the attitude, the customer service, leadership, problem resolution, how you handle those, I guess, soft skills that most people put on as skills in their resume. Most people don't have that. And I would come with someone who is friendly and has a customer service. I can teach them everything else, but that part is hard.
It's funny you say that because I have been lucky. That's always been one of my strengths. One of my strengths is relationship building relationships, strong, positive relationships with people. I truly value a lot of the relationships that I have, and I treat my claims the same way. And, I don't know about you, but I get questions sometimes. I get a lot of questions I don't know the answer to. It could be a construction question. It could be a policy question. It could be something that you would think that somebody that has 14 years of experience would know the answer to, but I may not know the answer to it. And people ask me, well, like, how is it that you've been successful? And honestly, a big part of my success is those soft skills that I think are very important in this industry. And it's being able to get along with the other side.
Yeah.
Always having a happy client. Even when maybe you didn't get what you wanted, still having a happy and satisfied client, being able to communicate with that client all the time, being able to do all that stuff. Because, again, we've got people in the courses that, man, they could write an exactimate estimate like you wouldn't believe. But they've got angry clients. They can't figure out the insurance adjusters. They can't get what they want on claims. And it's just funny how you mentioned those soft skills. It just made me think about that, how important that is.
Right. So, Vince, let me ask you this: when something doesn't go right,
I love it. This is like the first podcast I've done where I'm getting more questions than I'm giving away. You can tell, by the way, people, for those of you who are listening, Ebahi is a pro.
Yeah, I love to listen, but also for those listening, I'm trying to find out his secrets too.
Yeah.
So don't listen. This is as valuable for me as those who are listening. So you've been in it for a while. I'm curious how you handle those claims that don't go right. Somebody calls you and you're like, okay, this deserves the attention of your insurance company. I'm confident. I'm not sure if you say that, but do you preload your customer with the event that things may not go right, and then after the adjuster appointment, when it doesn't go right, what's your feedback to your client?
Yeah, so I definitely try to underpromise and overdeliver. Okay. That's for sure. I give no guarantees. Nothing is guaranteed. Everybody wants to know, well, will I be able to pay your fee and my contractor?
Right.
And I tell them technically that's not allowed because it's a fee and they're paying based on what it's supposed to cost. But sure, that's the goal. The goal is, and I always say it's the goal. The goal is for you to be able to pay your contractor and our fee so that you don't have to come out of pocket.
Correct.
When it doesn't go right, I mean, it depends on the situation. But I'm a firm believer in what's the word I'm looking for is not holding yourself accountable, but like blaming yourself. I'm a firm believer where if it's something that you could have done better, if it's your fault, hold yourself accountable for whatever it is. Like I'll give you a perfect example. I had a client that just didn't understand, I guess, what I was trying to tell him in mediation.
Okay.
They were offering new money. It was a good offer. Mm-hmm. And I told him, this is new money on top of what you've been paid. Mm-hmm. For some reason, he understood it on top of what I've been paid, plus the depreciation that they withheld. Mm. And I specifically told him, I said, no, we're taking this dollar amount. We're adding basically the deductible. We're adding the payment. And this is what's coming out. Everything is included in here. So when he came back and the check's in and he's like, well, what happened to the $3,000 in depreciation? Mm. And what I did, instead of blaming it on him, because he totally misunderstood what I was trying to say, I would say, hey, look, I'll put the blame on myself. I should have explained it more clear to you. I said, you did misunderstand what I was trying to tell you. It's exactly what I told you. Depreciation is included in this new money check. I said, but maybe I can get better and I could actually just make myself a little bit more clear the next time I do it. And I don't know, I find most people, not all people, but most people, they understand, they like the fact when somebody's sort of, I guess, willing to, what's the word I'm looking for? Take accountability and there's one other word I'm looking for. But basically, let's just hold yourself accountable for any mistakes that are made because you're not going to win them all.
Sure.
Open communication too. I'm constantly communicating with my client. I never settle a claim without bringing it by my client first. Okay. I'll give them my opinion on how we should go and how we should take this further. But open communication with my clients from beginning to end is very important too. But another thing I have found that is the longer that I'm doing this, the less patience I have with clients that I have to watch myself for.
Sure. Yeah. Because we repeat ourselves a lot, unfortunately.
That's the thing.
They don't know that though,
right.
So we can't. It's a little tough. I'm like, oh my gosh, this question again. Like I've explained it. Yeah.
Or when they explain the whole thing. Well, what happened was I had this leak here, and I called my insurance, and this, that, and in my head, I'm just like on the phone, like I've heard this story a million times already, but you can't do that because it's the first time for them.
Exactly.
So you definitely have to have some sympathy for your clients. But, I mean, that's how I do it. Do you have another way of doing it? Like, what do you do when you screw it up?
I just took tips from you for sure. Making sure that you call the client before you settle. We carry a high number of claims just because our team is 200 deep. And so especially during COVID, a lot of our teammates started writing claims in Georgia, which I then would go out and adjust. So it's like for me, trying to be in the newer adjuster, I was trying to juggle everything at the same time and really didn't understand how much time a claim would take. I really didn't understand what to be saying at the adjuster appointments, what to be showing them. So then I'm spending a lot of time writing concern letter, making unnecessary phone calls that I didn't need to make. And then our claims get longer and longer. And I remember last time you talked, you said you try to get people paid in 30 days, or at least something that going in 30 days. And for us, it's like an average of 2 to 4 months to be able to settle the average claim. But for me, when you called me earlier today, I was on the client telling him it's almost like the same exact conversation. His scenario was that his adjuster from Hippo initially quit. And so the person taken up for that kind of just got watered down, just underwater. He's trying to keep his head above it, but just too much going on. So Paul Davis, which is a restoration company, initially wrote an estimate that he sent to his insurer. However, they didn't pay for it. So then here we come, because he's not hearing, he doesn't know what to do. The contractor refers us in. So I put an estimate together, which was more than the Paul Davis, but he felt like, well, Paul Davis would have gotten this. I said, you're right. That's very much true. However, they didn't pay Paul Davis's estimate. They paid our estimate. And even if they did pay Paul Davis, you're actually in the better position having Paul Davis drop out because they had other projects and they were waiting, on the money to come in. I said, you're in the better position because now not only do you have the 40,000 that all would have went 100% to Paul Davis, you would have saw absolutely nothing. You can actually now go talk to different contractors and see what estimates they provide for you. Now, not only do you have what Paul Davis would have got, but you have a lot more. So, but he was just stuck on like, well, I already sent it over. They would have paid it. I agree with you, but they didn't. And that's when we needed to be brought in.
People underestimate the value of a public adjuster all the time.
Yeah.
I get a question all the time where, what's the benefit of hiring a public adjuster from the beginning? People don't understand duties after a loss. People don't understand as soon as you got involved, once an insurance adjuster on the other side sees that a public adjuster is involved, they have to now openly discuss this claim, openly discuss coverages, openly discuss line items. When a Paul Davis or any contractor submits an estimate, they're pretty, obviously, we all know they're stuck on what they could actually do. All they can do is really present a supplement and see what happens in return. Correct. And then just follow up. We could file complaints. We could talk about statutes that are not being abided by. We could obviously file a lawsuit if we need to file a lawsuit. Correct. And they know that we know that. So I try to tell people it's much different. When I had a client that roofer tried to get them their supplement, unable to do it. She tried in the beginning, hired the roofer failed as well. I got involved. I got it paid in 2 weeks. She calls me, Vince, I don't understand. I'm confused. What is it that you did that I tried, got nowhere, roofer tried, got nowhere, and then you tried? And I tried to tell her, I said, look, it's our license. It is. It's a very important license. I like how you mentioned earlier how, you feel that it should get to that status of like, a
lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah. First of all, it's not an easy license to obtain. It's a difficult test to take. Decent amount of continuing education that must be done in order to do it. Yep. And if you really want to get, on a national level, a lot of times you have to take more than one exam, and you have to take all that continuing education. And there's a lot riding on what we do. And when we submit a claim and we submit our information, our documentation, and by the way, our letter writing, the insurance company has to respond. They have to respect the fact that we've got that license, and they have to negotiate with us to get it. Because you know what? All respect to Paul Davis, but he wouldn't have been able to do what you did.
Right. Yeah, and I think we also keep much better files than the construction company would, because they're great at what they do. When you're a marketer and they say pick a product or pick a service, they tell you to choose from 3 categories: health, wealth, or relationships. And under those, you can look at it like health being the doctor, maybe relationships being the lawyer, because they usually only come in when relationships fall apart. And then, so you have health, wealth, and then you're looking at you're looking at your relationships. I'm feeling like we fit in that third capacity of that triangle, because it's your home that is the biggest financial asset that you have, and you trying to work your own claim might as well be like your Tom Hanks in Castaway trying to knock out your own tooth. You could do it. Oh, you could be in your house. Yes, you can extract your own tooth, but only somebody stupid would do that. And so you have professionals who go out and you hire them to do that. And so if you try to do it, then you go in and you make a mess. And then you want the PA to come in, and then you want them to be fast when we've got a lap behind the Kentucky Derby. Yeah. And so while I'm trying to catch up, and then new people, and they're rushing, and the contractor wants their money, like, everybody, give me a second. This claim has been going for 2 months. Let me see all the moving pieces. And when I get rushed, things don't go well, and then it's like a longer delay. So that is that is the real tough part when homeowners do start. My boss always says this: when you let a fox into the hen house, they make a mess. Yeah. So it is important to have a PA come in first so we can set the scene, we can tell the story, and we can make sure that if you have some water come into the wood floor, but you also had a potted plant near there. If you don't move that plant, they're going to attribute that water damage to you overwatering that plant.
Right.
You got to move that thing. Get that in the kitchen. I have to move it, but and it's just because I've learned now, because in the past as a roofer, I'd be, oh, come on in, adjuster, here we go, and they'll see, nah, deny. Oh, dang. Why? That tree. I mean, she ain't watered it. It's a dead tree. But, but once they see it, it's very, very hard to get people to change their mind.
Contractors, if you're listening, I want to start an initiative where contractors are phenomenal and roofers at going out there and getting these jobs signed up and getting these. But I would like for you guys to partner up with your local public adjuster. And I know it's tough because not all public adjusters are worth anything either, right?
Yeah,
you got your bad apples too.
Right.
But spend the time in partnering up or finding getting a good relationship with a good public adjuster in your local area, and commit for at least 2 months to. Are you ready for this? Give them your entire book of business. And I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of times what happens is the contractors go in and they try to settle it themselves.
Yep.
And they submit their supplement and they just try to settle it themselves. And then what happens is when they can't get anywhere, now, were the duties of the law abided by? Did you respond to any requests? Did you provide the proof of loss? Did you do what you're supposed to do as what we would be doing throughout the life of that claim? And then what happens, Ebahi, we get garbage.
Yep.
Now they give us a claim that's been denied.
Yep.
POL wasn't provided. You didn't respond to the request for information. And now what do? We got to basically start behind the 8 ball, behind the Kentucky Derby to try to get this thing settled. And then they're like, oh, well, you're a PA. You're not worth a shit. You didn't get us any money. It's like, well, if you would have given me this thing from the beginning, I could have created this incredible claim. Yep. This incredible story too, because I call it a story sometimes, where you got little Miss Johnson, old lady, 80 years old, and I put all this in my letter. She can't walk in the house. She can't do this. She's suffering from this damage up here. There's probably mold growing, and what are you going to do? And she needs to get paid, and then boom, you get paid, as opposed to, being all lackadaisical, just providing a supplement. And I don't mean just contractors. I mean clients too, policyholders. Like, just trust me, the 10, 15, 20%, it's worth every penny. I mean, you can Google search, what can a public adjuster get for you? And there's that Google image that's always there, that 750% more hiring a public adjuster. Right. And not only that, not only are we going to get you more money, but we have a better chance of you actually getting coverage. Yeah. Because we're going to abide by those duties after the loss. We're going to provide that documentation. We're going to take those photos. We're going to give them all the evidence that they need, which is like how I like to work with the other side. Let's work together. Like when I meet an IA, they're like, all right, show me the damage, Vince. Show me the damage. Like, I want to pay this claim. I'm like, here you go. Let's do this. Let's figure it out. But I went on a little bit of a tangent there. But the point is that contractors or even policyholders, I cannot begin to stress the importance of just hire a public adjuster from the beginning. And I know there's some bad apples out there, but most are pretty good.
Yeah, test the water. Absolutely, test the water. Give a hand 5 to one, give 5 to another, and see which one comes back better on average. And plus, go ahead.
And what do you think? And give us your entire book of business.
See who wins. Because we can go back.
2 months. Give it a shot.
We can go back. We can reopen the claims. I've often reopened a claim that the roof is already done if they feel like they still haven't been paid out for. I make sure I just go out and even squeeze those drops out just to show them that, hey, if we could have got in there before, we may have had an even better track than what you started with.
But I want the new sales pitch when a contractor or roofer goes in there and gets them to sign their work authorization, and they're going to contact the insurance company to get the supplement. I'd rather the sales pitch be, here, we're going to be your roofer, we're going to be your contractor, we're going to replace your roof, but we also work with this public adjuster who's going to handle the entire claims, and once that claim gets paid, yes, you're going to have to pay him a percentage, but by hiring this adjuster who's going to put together a brand new estimate on the roof, on the interior, whatever else, trust me, it's going to pay for his fee, and you'll have enough money to pay me to do your roof.
Right. So the first roofing company I worked with did not have a PA on site. And it got very frustrating for me because when I would see a very dirtbag roof and it gets the denial, there was nowhere to turn other than the reinspection. And I didn't have the Hague certification. I didn't know how the policy was supposed to not pay for repairs if repairs weren't there. You got to get the whole slope looking right how it did before. So I felt one thing that somebody in our company always says is that we truly protect the homeowner. I had a house that the water hit the electrical breaker panel. The contractor's office manager, I meant like, hey, can I see your Megger test? Oh, well, we didn't feel like one was needed, but the water hit, like, by code. You actually, by law, you have to be able to at least test that out. And so, and if not, if something sparks 3-4 years down the line, it's going to look like it was that machine, but it was from that loss that nobody thought to just go ahead and test. So we make sure our contractors have the right licenses. If we're referring them, we make sure they're putting out the right permits. And for contractors, it's so many less things that you have to do. You can focus on the business, not focus on these individual claims. If you do have a public adjuster there's a lot of what we call chucking the trucks, the smaller firms that just have maybe 5 or 10 on the team, who salespeople could earn more, because now you're getting a bigger claim settlement amount. And then they'll also have more approvals than they do denials and with that too as well. So I think they'll have more longevity out of a sales staff that already has a high turnover rate. And plus you do have the financial benefit of, wow, I didn't know I could get paid to clean my walls before I painted. What's that?
Exactly. The little line items, right?
Yeah. So people ask, so even well, what are you going to add? Is that enough? But the few cents for hundreds of line items starts to add up. And because we're out to protect the homeowner, we're looking out for their best interests, where contractors, they want to be able to make sure you're back to square one, but they're looking for their profit first. And that's why they're and some of them work with the insurance company, so they don't even want to bite the hand that feeds them. But we just go out, educate the insured. I don't know if you also, tell homeowners, it's not just fires that you use your policy for. It's not just tree falls, small losses, scratches on the floor, furniture gouges, even, spilled bleach on the carpet, melted siding, things that are even your fault can be paid for. And the other crutch that all of us PAs have to overcome is that the insurance companies are loved by consumers. And we forget that they're just a financial entity. But when you have the fine guy that they got, Jake from State Farm, super cute.
They have these great commercials. They're so lovable.
How can you not love them? I have to have insurance. My auto insurance is with Allstate. And, I know I'm paying for the market. I got to have insurance. So trust me, they've come to my rescue once or twice, but we can't, we can't also see them as friendly as our neighbor, because they're really not your neighbor. They're a financial institution that is happy to collect the money from you each and every week, and they never educate you on a commercial about what to do if your claim gets denied. So my mission in life is to try to get some of that mindset changed for what people have. And by speaking to renters even who will one day own a home, trying to get them to understand, like, yes, we love the commercials too, but they are a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. They're going to treat you nice until you need them. So be careful.
I'm surprised you don't have State Farm with the cute guy from State Farm.
Yeah, he's too cute. He cost me a lot, I bet. But no, I Allstate. How did I end up? It was a friend of a friend, of course, because you know that business is also referral based. And
Uh-huh.
at the time, I think there was a movement to do buy black, like Black Lives Matter and things like that. So the agent, it's a black owned agency. So I just wanted to try to make sure I did that. So that was the only one. I didn't even research. I said, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just pay it. So I, even as a PA, have I read that policy for auto? No, I really have not. But and have I done my due diligence and seeing if I can find a better rate? No, I have not. Like we all fall, we all fall, we also come to the giant industry of the insurance companies, but you know, so bad on me, I know, but I do have Allstate, so that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, that's another thing that drives me crazy is I get a lot of clients say, hey, which insurance should I get? And they send me whatever it is that their agent sends them.
Yeah.
The agents now, they don't even send, sometimes they don't even send a deck page.
Oh,
They'll
wow.
send you like 4 options that all it says is the insurance company name, the policy limit, the deductible, and how much the premium is.
Yep.
No exclusions, no endorsements, no nothing.
It's the only product that you have to pay for before you see it.
It's a one-way contract.
It's a one-way contract.
But you don't even get to see the contract now.
You can't even see it before. You can see just what you talked about, the little, you know, how much you're going to be paying, how much you're getting, but what's covered, what's not covered, they will not let you see it until you pay. It's the only thing out there that is pay first, see later. And they're good.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, they've made their way. Some of the things that always is nice. So our headquarters is in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Philly.
What's the name of the company?
Metro Public Adjustment. And I've gone up there, and it's nice to see Ben Franklin's first insurance company, and there's a lot of other like old insurance buildings, because the Philadelphia, I guess, was one of the starting hubs here in the US. So the initial fire policy and Ben Franklin's company, I just happened to be walking past that, and it's like, me in this industry, we're connected, we're never going to be apart. And it's like a magnet, like, oh, insurance, and it's been around since the 1700s, and it'll continue to go long after we're gone. So that is I'm dedicated 100% to this industry, so to speak.
Good. Ebahi, tell me about the YouTube channel. How's that going with the YouTube channel and education and your courses and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because watching you, I'm like, listen, this guy, he's only one really coming up for public adjusters, although there's like a few lawyers who come up too. So and because I'm like, I took a while, Vince, to really commit to the PA side, because I was like, well, in the IA, you can get a whole bunch of money at a little in a short amount of time, but the consistency on the IA side just is not there. And so I waited to test out this PA thing before I announced it to my audience, which they aren't aware of. So just this month, I really started to target talking about public adjusting and how to become one and why I like it better, because I wanted to make sure that it was going to be as beneficial to pursue as the IA side was to pursue. And when I found like I hit my stride in it, then I started to talk about it. So my audience is getting a bit of a different flavor from me recently.
What are some of the, I have a video out called IA, like an independent adjuster versus public adjuster. What are some of the differences that you found so far?
Well,
besides the obvious.
Yeah, my biggest thing is that when I was working as an IA, you're doing 7-12-hour days, was the inability to maintain a routine. Because if you went to the gym every morning, now you're going to be impacted because of maybe where your gym is now located. Like I have an LA Fitness membership. There's no LA Fitness in New York City. You got to go to Long Island and things of that nature. So now I got to reroute that. What? If you were involved, at the time I was trying to go to city council meetings. I couldn't do that anymore. So my biggest beef on the IA side is the lack of life that you have once you go to the IA side, and they purposely will send somebody from Georgia to go work a storm in Texas and send somebody who is a resident of Texas to go work a storm in Georgia at the same time, because they don't want you being able to have a life. They want you to be working. They need you to be working the claims. And when I was starting to see that, I was like, this is too, I don't have as much control over my life as I would like to. And I'm a big component of like my time. So I just see that as the control of your time is better on the PA side. The consistency and flow of work is better on the PA side. So those two for me is why I think anybody who is struggling to become an independent adjuster should consider public adjusting. There are conversations, and there's certain dads who don't want to leave the wife with the young kids, who can't go just drop in 72 hours to go work a storm. People quit their jobs to then go work a storm, and they're told in 24 hours that there's no work. So you make huge sacrifices, and like in Florida, you can actually work under a PA before you actually invest into the exam. Whereas if you are on the IA side, they're going to want you to have the exam and the licenses done first before you can then work. So there's a lot of upfront commitment on the IA side over the PA side. And so send me this clip, because that's like a video, right?
That was great. I was looking at the time too. I'm like, we're going to put this in the intro a little bit. That was great.
That's exactly it. So for some, the IA side is a better fit, but if you're struggling, I definitely would say consider looking into public adjusting.
Two things I want to ask you about from everything you just said.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing was, there's no LA Fitness in New York City?
No, not in the boroughs. What? It's too big. LA Fitness is too big you got to put the gym courts in there. So you have to have a small boutique. I bet, I don't even know the size of your house, but the average Florida condo is probably just as big as New York City gyms, right? Like they just have multiple floors, and they try to, put everybody out there, but you do have to go out to like Long Island to actually find yourself a LA Fitness.
The second thing I picked up, which if you want to talk about it, you can. I'm always interested in off-topic stuff. You said that you're involved. You said city council. What kind of stuff are you involved in?
Yeah, my goal was to start one of the city council meetings that I was going to was East Point, Georgia, and they are one of the few cities that require contractors to do a permit for a roofing job. So I was kind of going to work with the city council members there to let them know about public adjusters and what they do. Vince, you won't even believe this statement that I'm about to make next, but when you talk to the people in the insurance industry, 90% don't even know what public adjusters are. And that includes agents, okay? That includes other adjusters, right? So I feel that the lack of education is at disadvantage to communities. And the communities who we do Meals on Wheels here. I delivered for Meals on Wheels from time to time. It was much funner pre-COVID. Now you can't even talk to the seniors. It's kind of not as fun. But when you have programs to help homeowners be able to live in their house, but they may not have the roof may be leaking, and there's small programs, but the city is also strapped for cash. So my goal is to try to meet with those who head up those types of programs, those who have a political concern for seniors being able to stay at home and live while property values go up because they really can't afford to move anywhere. I want to be able to at least allow them to know that those damages that you've been living with, ma'am, because your resources and inflow of income is limited. If you know that you're paying insurance, this is how you use it. And these are the folks that grew up thinking you never call your insurance unless there's a fire. They're going to raise your rates because you file a claim. Like all of these myths, they grew up believing them. So my goal is to work with city council members and government offices to have at least an education program for homeowners, and then to also have a job program for those who are looking for work, because you have a lot of I think of grown men mostly, because they want to work hard and they want to be able to make a good living, but whatever circumstances that they're in puts them in jobs that don't allow them to live beyond paycheck to paycheck. And this can be a good way for them to start with very little money up front. With the city could probably take care of the $200 or so. They're spending thousands on getting people unemployment and things. $200 and $200 investment into helping somebody into this career could go a very long way for somebody be able to make life-changing money. Because within 0 to 3 years, you can go from 0 to 6 figures. Whereas when I was working with Toys R Us, I went from 45 to 50 in 3 years.
Right.
You know, so you
Right.
don't get those high bumps, and so that's what my two focuses are. And again, this is the industry that you don't have to get siloed in. It's really a upside down umbrella. You can catch all of it because everything has insurance. So as you were talking about the property managers and the HOAs, that's also a area next year where I want to get focused into. And because so little people know about this industry, it's almost like the Wild Wild West. It's almost like real estate before people knew how much money you could make in real estate, and then people started buying it up. There's across the country from here to Washington State, it's people who need adjusters, public adjusters, and they just aren't aware. So if you live in Washington State, you might be one of 10, or even if you're one of 100, you could probably corner out a very large square mile section and be the only PA in that community for a very long time. And that's another benefit from doing ours versus doing the IA.
That's awesome. Woo! You're on fire.
Wow, I know, right? Wow, that was worked up, boy. I tell you what, I did learn a lot because we don't get to get together. I know you actually came up here, and I lost track of the dates, and so then I had plans, and I was like, oh, shoot, I missed that, but that would have been such a great opportunity for me to get together. Okay, good.
We're not done.
Oh, okay, good.
I feel like you're just getting rolling.
No, I know, right? That's what I was thinking too. But I know in the beginning you're like, 90 or so.
No, we keep going.
Okay.
When you say with everything that you want to do with the community and everything, you want for people to become PAs or just get into the insurance industry in general?
Yeah, I would say I'm not biased to just them going into the industry, because again, it's a position that I didn't know about. I went to college. Nobody told me about claims adjusting. And
everybody always falls into this industry, right? It's so funny.
Oh man, it's just, if you didn't get introduced by a friend, you are like one in a million.
Yeah.
And so I would just love the education, and I don't mind if people go to the IA side. What I'm hoping is that the education gets out there, that the position exists, and then people learn how insurance actually is used. It's the last conversation that's going to come up at a pool party, a dinner party. People talk about starting mobile cigar bars and hookahs and hair care, CBD, all of these other things, but nobody is ever going to talk about the one thing we all have in common other than standing on this earth, right? Like,
because it's boring insurance, which is another thing that I will say. PA life and IA life is not boring conversation. It is like a lot of interesting. Every single day of our lives is different.
Right. Have you seen my IG channel?
Of course I have.
Oh, okay. So I do the little videos, and people are, my friends and family are like, what do you do? Like, that looks so interesting.
I know.
Let me tell you, ladies, there are some times I go on roofs a lot. I have been in crawl spaces from time to time. One time I was down in a crawl space that it was a crawl space, and then the second part of the house had like a dip where you could almost stand up. I'm 6 feet tall. So, but But their dog had been in there. There was feces under there, rats under there. There's a pipe leaking, and I'm down there with the leak detection guy. He puts on this hazmat suit, and he's a former Army guy. So where he had to go to where the pipe was like about 2 feet big, maybe. And so he's army crawling to get to where this leaking. And I'm like, listen, you do that, take pictures. I'll be standing over here underneath these spider webs and, trying to not to step in dog loads and things like that. And so I come out of there. I'm like, listen, ladies, this may not be a job for us.
I was going to say, Ebahi, you were selling it so well and you just completely crushed it. Like I said, now you killed it. That's it. Nobody wants to do this now.
The truth is the truth. But hey, he's a leak detection. I didn't have to get dirty, but I was underneath those cobwebs. It adds to the adventure. It adds to the story. No 2 days are alike. Getting to watch guys cut down trees, ladies. You're watching men work up sweat. You're watching men at work, their muscles are pumping. So that part is the bonus. Those are the icings on the cakes that I get to enjoy. But it's true, and you go into different homes. You see some overly decorated homes. You're like, wow, you made this,
hoarders.
You made that.
Hoarders.
Yes. Oh boy, I got a situation right now. We have to clean out the whole house. We got to bomb the house because it has a pest infestation. And I have to do the lead test for that house. And I'm just waiting for them to get everything out because one of the guys went in there and they threw up because the smell of the mold and stuff was so bad. So it's, but again, it's all these like stories that are worthy of writing home about. So versus sitting at a desk, I couldn't do a whole desk 9 to 5 days a week.
I couldn't do it either. Another thing I've been trying to do, are you trying at all? I don't know. Is this at all in any kind of initiative that you're trying to do? Because I know you just definitely come off of that kind of person. You are a difference maker, Ebahi. That's why I love you. I think you're great. Women in the industry. We need more women in the industry.
I know.
I don't understand. So I interviewed somebody today. I'm hoping and praying that she wants to come work for us because she's a freaking rock star.
Nice.
And I was telling her the same thing. I'm like, you're going to crush this. Mm-hmm. Like once you learn just the little details that you need to know about, just the insurance claim policy, all that boring stuff, I guess you would say, like the people skills that she's got on top of the fact that she is a woman, that she's going to have all these contractors and roofers wrapped around her freaking little pinky. Yep. I think women could crush this industry way better than a man can, in my opinion.
Right.
Maybe more.
Right. And I hear that from men more often than not. There's a couple of places where people feel women will do better in this industry. One of those is the management of the projects, putting other people to work. Once you learn the job, then women, I guess, have an innate ability that guys see that maybe we don't see ourselves to be able to have multiple plates spinning. So, for example, one IA said one female, he actually helped her get started. He taught her everything. Now she's actually his manager because she has those people person skills and she has those leadership skills and abilities. So he said for women who want to be managers, who want to lead teams, he's like, this is the perfect industry for them. The other place that it's really, I think it's key is that, and this really kind of comes from college as to how I picked my career. When you're the only female in a group of 20 guys, they're going to look at you and you're going to get called first because they want to be able to have that equality in the workplace. So you're going to have the opportunity, if you're willing to be in the field, to actually get out there. I think just as easily as any other guy, if not maybe easier, because you have a bit of that advantage of actually being a female.
I also think that if a female could really establish her pitch and establish that, not the word is not dominance, but yeah, I guess like in that sales pitch or whatever, like if they're pitching to a contractor or pitching to a homeowner or whatever, if they could establish that control, that dominant, it's much more difficult for a man to say no to a woman.
So one of my colleagues also said, like, when the woman comes into the house and they see a baby, like all of our focus and attention goes there, and the woman of the house loves that. you know, you're paying attention, you're complimenting their kid who is half them. And so you easily win people over. And I do try at one time, Vince, I would be dressed like the guys. I would have my tennis shoes on with my my tactical 411 pants that have all the pockets everywhere. They're basically like, I feel like a police officer in
like
them.
cargo pants.
Yeah. And I have my collar, you know, button up. But then you start to put on, if you're not going on the roof, of course, you start to put on a skirt. You start to put on a nice dress top. And homeowners are like, oh, well, she's professional. Well, let me see what she's doing this work. And, you know, and so you just have a whole different light. So I know that I not only started doing that because someone commented that they wear heels to inspections. And I was like, she said, unless she knows she's going on the roof, she's dressed up, made up, and you know, you have that flexibility to be able to do that in this career. So you as a woman have to recall, yes, you can't have our counterparts just putty because their defenses are going to be down. They're going to think you don't know too much, and you can play like, oh, well, how would you handle that, then?
There you go.
See that? Yeah. and it works. Oh yeah, actually that is. And then guess what? They teach and educate you. And then you start to pick up information from all different types of parties, and they remember you. And and so that part of it is fun too. But homeowners, I think genuinely really enjoy seeing us out there. And I think we do a great job, of connecting with people.
Would you ever consider starting your own firm or going out on your own? I don't know if you're allowed to say this, working under Metro, but is that something you've thought about? Or
yeah, so that's a good question. I think, and I've thought about that prior to August, and then I started my pitching PA on my YouTube channel. So prior to August, I was thinking like all of July, I was just like, man, would I ever start my own firm? And when I came down to it, I don't think I'm that type of personality. I'm the type, if you remember Rugrats, the TV show from back in the day, they had Tommy, who was the leader, and then they had Chucky. And Chucky was always me. Like I'm like a vice president type of gal. I'm not, you be the president, I'll just sit back. It's, so for me, running my own firm, making sure I'm legally compliant, making sure all of these pieces are in place are a little more work than I think I want. I think I'm more like a franchise owner, whereas I don't have to handle the marketing, the recipe, because like Ray Kroc, they said, why didn't you just go start your own company? Like that's what the McDonald's brothers said, but he was like, the name was there, the food was there, why reinvent the wheel? So I think I could be better as a Ray Kroc, working from the position that I am now, than to stop everything and then in my 50s and 60s try to build things up.
It's not easy. I mean, we're doing it now. We're putting together processes and all these things together, and the organizational chart and everybody's roles and everybody's duties and stuff like that. It could be a little time consuming. So I could understand that. Do you have like the ability to sort of hire people under you at all? Or?
That's correct. And that's how our model is at Metro. You train people, you'll get a percentage of the claims that they work. And that is when I was even asking you earlier, do the apprentices, pay for that? We don't ask them to pay us. We just say, once you start writing your own claims, we'll just you get a percentage of the fee, and then we'll get the difference between our level as if we wrote it. Because once we have our fee, so the way Metro works, once they have our fee, then we get, if you're new, you get 20% of that fee. But if you become a regional manager, you get 30%. So when they get 20%, we get that other 10% that they are get. But if they get to regional manager, then they get 30%, but I still get a small percentage if they were on my team. So it's a good way to have the residual or passive. I think it's more passive income than residual, because it's not monthly. It's not the monthly automatic reoccurring.
No. This business, it's like a roller coaster, right?
It is. So yeah, that's how I was telling somebody, actually, the way I look at my income is I do it on a quarterly basis, because the checks get held up. I have a roofing claim that I'm waiting on the final ACV payment because the mortgage company was involved. They needed 3 inspections to release a little bit of money. That tree fell on the house in October. Wow. So I'm still, so you can't even look at it in the month by month basis, because your months may be a little low, but when you look at the quarter, you'll have about the same quarter, time over time. So you have to get your, nest egg built up a little bit, but it really did work for me. I was living at home when I started. Now I have a great apartment in the middle of the city. So
nice. Yeah. That's awesome. What's your plan for your YouTube channel? What's some of the things that you want to plan on doing, that you're excited about, that you'd want to share? And if there's any information that you'd like to share with some of the people.
Great. The goal, like I'm going to continue to track my journey. I know that I get a lot of people who are interested to work with me. Unfortunately, it's like I'm one person, and sometimes people fall in love with me, the YouTube personality, and so that can kind of take away from us being able to work together. But I'm actually kind of
I'm sorry, I'm cracking up because I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So I'm actually I like seeing you out there. It's kind of motivated me a little bit to educate people more on the claim process. And so I'm kind of steering a little bit to maybe try to see if it's a good source of new claims. And I think a few claims have come in from my YouTube channel, but not as I haven't really been pressing it. So I'm looking into kind of gearing up that way, and those who have already followed me will hopefully also learn from watching homeowners learn. So I'm kind of thinking about, my goal is to kind of focus on just educating homeowners by showing them what's covered, what's not covered, why it's not covered, what happens when your inspection. I had one claim hurt me because the home was bought about 18 months prior to a storm coming through, but the inspection showed the different missing shingles. Well, some of them were repaired, some of them wasn't, and then there was new damage, but the insurer said, well, it impeded, because of the late report date, it impeded our ability to be able to make a decision. And I thought, man, this should have been a done deal, should have been one. But we don't have, like in Georgia, we're not able to go to appraisal if we get a denial. I don't know how it works for you guys in Florida, but like in New Jersey, our teams can go to appraisal even if they get a denial. We're not able to do that in Georgia.
No, we get a denial. We usually try to get a reinspection, and if we can't get anywhere and they're sticking to their denial, we just go to litigation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So no appraisal process at all?
Yeah, totally. But usually just on underpayments. If it's just paid low.
Okay.
But once coverage has been established, then we'll go to appraisal.
Okay.
Just based on the amount of the claim.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. And is that by state law? Like by law, you can't go to appraisal?
Man, I mean, honestly, I've never gone to appraisal after denial.
Okay.
But it's not to say that's not something that we can't do. I mean, I don't see why not.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
It's
our team, they do that. So that's something that our team is learning too, because there's only a few of us here in Georgia. As I'm telling your audience, listen, this is super wide open. There's about 5 of us in the state of Georgia, and we are loaded with claims, and all of us work claims in different states. So it's a wide open market to get into the industry. But in Jersey, there's a set of rules up there that don't apply to us here in Georgia, and vice versa, which makes it a little bit more difficult when I'm trying to get things done. And I'm like, you guys said this will work. And they're like, well, I mean, we thought it would. But it didn't.
You guys are, how many? 200?
Yeah, there should be at least 200 what we call claims writers. They're the ones that go right. Basically, they're our lead finders. And then we have, I think, 56 adjusters that work claims nationwide.
Oh, so the leads are coming in. So you don't have to network. I mean, you're going to obviously do your own networking, but you do have a consistent flow of claims coming in. That's correct. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's a little bit, it's, again, so that's another, reason why it's like they already got the system going. And one thing that I always tripped over when I was doing my own business, I started as I tried to help like people who were authors get their books out. was once you sign the client, then you have to do the work, right? So then I lost the ability to be able to find more clientele because I'm like trying to focus on the work. So then when you're doing the work, no money is coming in. And I think MailChimp Creator had actually the same issue at first with the business that they were starting. But yeah, it's very nice to be able to know that there's a flux of claims coming in. And so now what I'm doing is I'm training 2 people under me to also help with that flow of claims, so I can actually go back to claims writing, which I prefer, the educating of other people.
And you said there's training.
That's correct.
And is it all over the country, every state?
It is. Right now, we have a lot of virtual training available. If someone wants to go from a claims rep to a field adjuster, we do have an 8-day Adjuster University training program in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. You'll learn from our director of adjusting, and he'll be able to approve you to then start the actual adjusting of the claims and meeting with adjusters, writing letters and estimates.
Let's talk after the show. I mean, this is pretty cool. Like you said, for somebody who just wants to get into the industry. I'm all about public adjusting in general anyway. And I mean, I don't know, maybe let's talk, maybe be a sponsor or something on the show or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be surprised if they wouldn't want to do that. And I know that you being in Florida, that's one area we have. It's trouble for us being as big as we are because of the apprenticeship situation. So we have one adjuster in Celebration, Florida. And so we can only do 1 to 2 apprentices. So it's like a per year. So it's like, that is nice to have them there, but Florida is a very big bottleneck for us. So we're not competition for you at all in Florida. And New York is also the same way.
We're not competition, period. Are you kidding me?
I know, right?
That never made any sense to me. That's why we do the meetups and everything, so that public adjusters could come together, because there's enough work out there. I mean, look, there's always, like we were talking about insurance. Not only is there always insurance, but there's always going to be pipe bursts. There's always going to be fires, unfortunately. There's always going to be hailstorms. There's always going to be hurricanes. There's always going to be some kind of natural disaster. So there'll always be work no matter what.
Exactly. And unlike other jobs like real estate, for us, it's very easy to work claims in other states. As that's why we have the other licenses. It's much more simple to be able to. I've adjusted claims in Washington State. I've never been to the state. Never been to Maryland. It's just about having somebody on the ground who can be your eyes and ears. But after that, you're good to go.
That's fantastic. I like this. This is cool.
Yeah, no, you learned a lot. I learned a lot.
Yeah, and I learned a lot about your company too, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and it's been great, right?
You have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, man, I'm all talked out, and I got two policy reviews coming up here at 5 and 6. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I got to get ready for those. But I appreciate you for letting me come on and talk shop. I also appreciate your audience for giving us the opportunity to educate them and be in their ears for an hour and a half.
Yeah, for sure. Ebahi, we've known each other now. We've talked for a while now. So thank you so much. Let's stay in contact, and let's maybe we can meet each other in person one of these days.
I know. Fantastic. And just as a warning, I'm 5'11" and a half, so I don't want you to be intimidated when you come up.
Just as a warning, I'm 5'7", so okay. I'm a little guy.
Awesome, with a big heart. Awesome, Vince. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ebahi. Good luck out there.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.